quiet seaside town, an evil lain to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
And welcome to Tabletop Gold, episode 154. My name is Lars Casteen. That was maybe the most alienating hello yet.
I'm
what
sorry,
do you
that
think?
was your hello?
Yeah.
That didn't
which I
sound
did
like
again.
hello.
Most alien.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it again. Listen closely for this time.
Hello.
I legit thought maybe someone was having a medical emergency.
That sounds like one of the aliens in a sci-fi movie, you know?
I was thinking it sounded more like a fourth grader, like doing weird breathing stuff.
So joke's on you. I haven't come up with a new idea since I was in fourth grade. So this is sort of the best I got going right now.
You and most men.
That's right. It's Tabletop Gold, episode 154. My name is Lars Casteen. Welcome to the show. I'm joined today, as always, by Zoe Chernicoff.
Good, this weird time, good alienating time.
Good alienating time. Armet Humphreys is here.
Good alienated time.
Nice.
Oh, smart.
Robin Lange is here.
Good that time.
And David the Tin Man Chernicoff is here as well.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm maybe even more alienated by the jokes about men than I am by the noise.
You know, there's something for everybody here on the podcast.
You're
Speaking
welcome.
of something for everybody, there's a responsibility we all have as citizens in various countries that everybody must participate in something called the legal system. One of us today participated in the legal system in a way that most of us are required to at some point. David, would you like to tell us about your experience today with jury duty?
Well, I feel obligated to say two things. One of which is I was not chosen for jury because I don't want anyone to feel like any of this is building up to a big finish, because it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Lower
really
expectations.
don't
Always
tune
good.
in to what you're about to hear.
Well, okay. And the other thing is I did not mind. I like the idea of jury duty. I've never actually gotten as far in my life as being called to the courthouse. So this was sort of the furthest I've gotten down the civic duty trail. The timing really stunk because I missed like an end of year ceremony thing at our kids' preschool. So like,
Oh, that sucks.
that was a bummer. But aside from the timing being terrible, like I'm pro jury duty. I'm into it.
Okay.
I found it interesting, even though I was not chosen to be on a jury and it was boring as hell. Like I actually kind of enjoyed just the whole like system that they had for getting all these people in and keeping everyone organized and like having different areas for us to wait in. And then they brought like 70 of us all into the same courtroom with 20 picked at random to be the ones who were like actually on deck to be in the jury. They were like in the actual active jury pool. They sat the rest of us in the gallery so that if people got discarded from the jury, they had everyone else had pre-heard all the questions that you were supposed to answer.
Oh, that's smart.
It was like a very well-designed cattle call in a way that I was not expecting at all. Like I thought it was going to be kind of a disaster, and it wasn't. It was like a very tidy and efficient like thing that by its nature is inefficient. It was like the exact opposite of like a post office experience or what have you.
Can I tell you the first thing I thought of as you described this experience? It sounded to me like you were online at a theme park to go on a ride, and then at the end there was no ride.
Yes, but it's a ride you didn't want to be on.
It's a ride you didn't want to be on, and also you didn't get to go.
Yeah.
It's just
the
denial and rejection over and over.
The comparison of this experience to like being at a theme park where they have a lot of people who are waiting, but they need to design the line so that you can't see the entire line at once. So you're in like you go from one small kind of interesting chamber with like stuff on the walls and like a different recording that's someone being like, space, we're about to take off and I hope you astronauts are feeling awesome. Like whatever.
But it's the law instead of space.
Yes.
Has anybody else ever done jury duty? Have you ever gone through that experience?
I have.
Oh.
I have as well.
I have.
I have not. So David and I are twinsies on this.
Yeah.
Wait, you live in New York City and you've never had to go do jury? Like, not even be on a jury.
I get called every 8 years. And what happens each time, this has happened twice now, is they call you into a room that's like the boarding area at an airplane, at an airport is what that's called. And I sit there for about an hour and then they say, yeah, we don't need anybody, go home. And then I get a thing and I get to come back 8 years and do that all over again.
That is jury duty, though.
Well, I've never been on a jury.
I've never been on a jury either.
So that's like three of us who've gone, had to go as far as actually going into the courthouse, but who've not served on a jury. I know Zoe has been on a jury. What about you, Armet?
I too have been on a jury in Brooklyn.
Oh, so interestingly, mine was also in New York City. This is fascinating.
That's the only place they actually have trials. What were the what were the trials for?
Mine was a person who was on parole who was accused of illegally possessing a firearm by the police. So it would have been like a parole violation. It was like not only a potentially illegal firearm violation, but it would have been a parole violation as well, which meant he would have gone to jail for a long time.
And Armet, did you have like a really funny, entertaining crime
Super
that you got
uplifting. Most
super
criminal
uplifting?
trials,
Great.
pretty fun.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah.
Time.
It was less intense than that one.
Okay.
It was a lower stakes one. I think it was there was like a minor accident. To be honest, I don't even remember what we found.
I don't know which direction to go in because there was some discussion. Like there were people who worked for the court who were like in charge of giving us instructions, and they were all very friendly. And I think they were trying to like keep people entertained. So they were like, "Hey, you can ask us anything you want." And people were like, because you don't know what else to ask. So they were like, "What's the craziest thing you've seen in the legal system?" And it's like, guess what? Most of those are really upsetting stories.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't think we want
No.
No,
So-
thank you.
At one point, they started like comparing notes, and I just interrupted, and I was like, "What's your favorite kind of puppy?" And the woman, and the woman was like, "Thank you." And then they discussed puppies for a little while, and everybody forgot about the various like double murders that they had been discussing.
Well, maybe that's
my
what
gosh.
disqualified you from the jury duty. Is this was like a puppy related situation? They were like, "This guy is no good
Guy
for
likes
this.
puppies.
Yeah.
He's too pro puppy. We gotta
Mr.
cut this
Nice Guy
from the
strikes
jury."
again.
that guy has too much situational awareness. We need him out of here.
David, by the way, part of your story jumped out to me is while I was visiting friends in Omaha, I made the mistake of asking an Uber driver what the craziest thing they've seen has been. So I think maybe the lesson is asking people that question is where the problem lies.
You should just get
don't ask that
into your next
Yep.
Uber and just ask them what their favorite kind of puppy is, and just go from there. That's the move.
Right, you got to be ready
All
for
the
bad
answers are good
crazy.
ones.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Everybody, we say it all the time, but we've got the best community in podcasting. Every once in a while, we see something cool that we want to share with people. This is a comic made by friend of the show, Dex.
Officially friend of the show with all of his art.
Dex made a comic of the moment a few episodes back where Trill was like sinking underwater and casting force barrage while in the fight with the Chools while she's like about to drown. I'm putting it up on screen right now in the video show if you want to take a look. But it's just really exciting and cool for us to see this moment from our game come to life like this. So thank you so much to Dex for making this and for sharing it with us. And, anytime our community does something cool, you just want to share it with you guys.
There's a lot to love in this drawing. I just want to say that the wig of holding, like peeping up over the surface, is not lost.
Yeah.
on me.
It's.
So
I was
great.
about to
Mhm.
say Dex was the first one to kind of do this illustration of Trill in the new wig, and now it's popped up in like every single drawing since, and it's so perfect, so delightful. It brings me joy every time I see any of those drawings.
Totally agree. Yeah, Dex. So this is the first one we're talking about in this show, but like we've gotten a lot of comics and art from Dex, and it's like there's almost like a Tabletop Gold cinematic universe happening within his drawings, and it's awesome. It's so cool.
I'm gonna say it. This is a Dex build I can get behind.
Hey.
There we go.
And before we move on, I just want to ask, if you're listening to us on a podcast app, please leave us a rating or a review if the app supports it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please click the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to our channel. And with that, let's get into it. Let's play our game. During your delve into the 8th floor of the Abomination vaults, you discovered a vast underground swamp and something of a crime scene. The location where the 6 members of the squad from Absalom's Star Watch faced a direct attack from the ghost of Belcora Haravex herself. You've spent the day exploring the areas surrounding the site of this attack and endured your own onslaught from Belcora. But now, you've returned to the town of Otari along with the bodies of 2 of the fallen officers from the big city. So this is a tough walk back to town. The bodies of Colton Marabi and Samandra Vix are weighing you down. Perhaps the memory of staring into the eyes of Belcora Haravex, this immaculately dressed ghost, as she tore reality apart and compelled you to sprint headlong into danger, is hanging in your minds. Mag and Trill, your clothes are maybe damp and smelly still with the brackish water of this underground swamp that you just jumped into to escape from Belcora. And as you approach the town, the sun, starting to sink down into the inner sea, grants you some comfort. But as the sun disappears, the comfort is fleeting. So, what's the plan for Colton and Samandra?
Who is it? Would it be the Dawnflower Library who like manages the graveyard? Like where, or is there a church on there? Like I feel like
I think that if you were like who manages this kind of thing,
yeah.
I think Trill searching her mind, you get the sense that the Otari garrison is probably your best bet. Like they.
Oh no. Trill's just thinking they've got it. I imagine she's coming out of there feeling awful after the whole Belcora thing. But then also looking at, these 2 Star Watch members, knowing how it was, their crew who encouraged the mayor and the garrison to call for some help for the Star Watch, and now we're bringing their dead bodies back. Like, this looks bad. I feel like we're walking back into town with something that looks really bad for us.
For us?
For us. For like, by us, for Trill and Mag and everyone. Like, this feels AO. Like, we're going to bring him back, and everyone's going to be like, what the hell happened? What'd you guys do? Like, we're going to be
Trill's
taking...
nervous.
I feel like we're going to be taking the blame for this.
I think that particular concern has not occurred to Mag. Mag is worried also. Her worry runs down the line of, like, she has been increasingly concerned about how bad the situation is as the group gets deeper and deeper into the dungeon below Gauntlight, and the Star Watch was supposed to be like the reinforcements that were going to even the matchup. And now they're not available. The agents who were sent are not available to help like balance the scales. And also I think some of her faith is shaken in the Star Watch as a potential remedy for this situation because the people who came were totally deceitful. Like they seemed to be cooperative, and then they weren't actually. They didn't listen to a thing that we had to tell them about what they were walking into. So like we're back to square one, and also maybe just emotionally like a little bit worse than that, because rather than feeling like we need reinforcements, but the cavalry's on the way, it's like, oh, the cavalry didn't even want to coordinate, and now they're gone as well. So I think she's worried and isolated, somewhat vindicated too. I don't think she's thinking as in a savvy a way about the like politics, the dynamics of it as Trill sounds like she is.
I think Istin is also kind of in his own head right now. He saw his dad in the dungeon appear and help him at like a unexpected moment when the chips were down. And like, I think also the interview with the Star Watch before this horrible turn of events is weighing on him as well. Like thinking about the Holomog job and how he just seems to be failing over and over again and never able to be the hero he wants to be.
Ao's just thinking about her MLM.
Well, I think Ao is pretty strung out right now. Like, I'm not sure she's doing a lot of thinking. I think she has big feelings she can't quite put words on about seeing Belcora, having her, almost kill her, but get her, everyone's help brought her back. I don't know if how much she understands she was close to death, but I think it feels very real. I think this is the second time she's almost died. The last time was a long time ago, I think, on floor 2. But I think she is genuinely sort of confused and exhausted and doesn't know what to make of it.
Well, if the place to go with your bad news and your dead bodies is the police, then let's go to the police. Let's go to the town guard.
So as you ponder these sort of thoughts, try to come to terms with what it is that has been happening over the last 24 hours or so, you move with difficulty because of the burden upon you towards the northern side of town and Otari garrison. And the sun is nearly down at this point, and you see that Lardis Longsaddle is there with a number of deputies, senior-ranking members of the town guard. They see that you're coming towards them with these, with these 2 heavy weights under your command. He's kind of rubbing his knee like it hurts, like it's an old war wound or something like that. He's looking old, like you can see the decrepitude in the body of Lardis Longsaddle. But he sees you and looks shocked, and he snaps his fingers and points for members of the guard, of the town guard, to come in and help you. And they bring the 2 bodies inside the garrison, and Lardis is standing there. It's a sort of a warm summer evening. He's just he's sort of mopping his brow, and he's just like, "Now, what the hell happened? What happened?"
Mag walks up to him and gingerly places the bodies on the ground and begins going through her pack to find her bedroll to place over the bodies once they're laid to rest.
And Lardis is like, yeah, help Mag out. Come on, help her out. Come on, what are you doing? Look alive. And Mag is quickly assisted by a group of 3 or 4 of the town guard.
Oh, now there's urgency to it. Now when someone falls, you're ready to investigate.
He says, Mag, you gotta you got to get it through your head that people change. I've changed. I'm not the man I used to be, as he sort of extends his arm and you hear this crack, 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 crack as the various like ligaments and bones in his body snap into place. And he looks at you and he says, you've changed too. This whole town has changed. This situation has changed. If I could apologize to you for the things that I did or didn't do in the past, I would. You think that I don't look at you and what you're doing right now and see that I was wrong? You think I don't know that I'm wrong when I've got 2 members of the Star Watch here in front of me? People change, Mag. People aren't just the same person.
Well, you're right, Lardis. The situation has changed. And today it changed again. This retinue from the Star Watch, they departed from town early this morning. Without us, never made their rendezvous. And by the time we caught up with them, we don't know yet what's befallen them, but at least these 2 are gone.
He shakes his head. He's like, this is horrible. Hearing about good cops being put through hell like that makes me furious. Where are the rest of them? Where's the rest of the... Where is everybody?
We don't know. She'll just simply says, trying to give Mag a break.
I knew they never should have gone in there without you. Damn it.
Yeah, we weren't too thrilled that they made that decision either. Yeah, we're not giving up. We're gonna go back tomorrow and we're gonna find the rest of them. But we couldn't, when we found these 2, we couldn't just leave them down there.
It might have been a crab or it might have been Belcora, Ao says, sort of loudly and off the cuff.
Wait, you're saying Belcora herself may have been involved with this?
She came for us too. I think it was like an apparition or a ghost. I don't know. She almost got me. And then she just like fixes him with sort of a like glowing, like somewhere between troubled and hardened look, and an awkward silence ensues.
So you saw Belcora yourself then?
We all did. She looks around, like suddenly sort of second guessing herself.
We pretty sure we saw her ghost at least.
Well, I imagine that's all that's left of her at this point. Is there any sign of Mark? Did you find Mark?
Oh, we're gonna find Mark, don't you worry. I'm sure Mark is holed up somewhere fighting off whatever chased him, and Mark's gonna be doing just fine.
Now, ma'am, don't you worry about Mark. That kid's got more luck than I ever saw in anybody.
Great, he's Mark.
If there's a way to stumble into a good situation, I'm sure that's the situation Mark stumbled into. You don't need to worry about Mark.
Yeah, I think you're right. Trill wipes her nose with her little capelet.
Boys, get her a new capelet. And he snaps his fingers.
No, I like the one I have. It's okay.
Get away from her with that capelet. You go, get out of there. Listen, if Belcora herself came after you, that means you're getting close, right?
I mean, that's what we thought. She seemed mad that we were there, like she was trying to scare us off.
She told us to go away. She wouldn't do that if she didn't think we couldn't get control of the light.
Yeah.
So she's getting scared then. And at this point, the various members of the town guard who are helping you have like managed to move the bodies of Colton and Samandra into another part of the garrison. And now that you've got a little bit of privacy, Lardis looks at you and he says, "And don't tell anybody I told you this. I can't really say it surprises me that much that the big city boys aren't able to cut it out here in the real world. They think they can bring all their training. They think they can bring their fancy uniform, their expensive armor around here. Stuff doesn't mean you got a good head on your shoulders.
Yeah.
I always knew it would be someone from around here to take care of our problems. So, looks like it's fallen on your shoulders again, huh?
Yeah.
Probably the way it should be.
Shrill looks up to Mag, kind of pats Mag on the arm, does the same to Ao.
Well, we'll fix this. We got this.
You better find Mark.
If we don't, Belcora's got a lot to answer for.
Do you think he knows how to get a hold of the light?
I don't know what light you're talking about. What does AO look like right now?
I think she's like, maybe her fur is like a little more singed and unkempt, like Deadhead. I guess it's Deadhead. But yeah, like just a little more sort of staring into the middle distance than she might normally be.
He looks at the three of you who are not AO, and he's like, I don't know what she's talking about, but I think you need to have a conversation with her. I don't know what it is that she's going on and on about. Taking control of the light. You mean the light of the sun that shines on us every day and wakes us up? Sarin Ray's light? That light?
At that, Isthan barks into laughter, just like kind of bitter laughter. After dropping Samandra's body, he just kind of went over and leaned against a wall and sat down against it and has been just like looking down at the ground this whole time. He goes, oh, it's the light she loves. The light that Nimbleoth gives Belcora. Nothing to be concerned about there, is it? And then he starts laughing again.
And now he looks at the other three of you and he's like, and you got to talk to him about his sense of humor. I have no idea what this guy's laughing at. Honestly.
It's been a long few days.
Well, I don't much like either of the four of you individually, but anyway.
Is it weird that makes me like him more?
Absolutely. Yes, it's the most likable thing he's ever
He
done.
negged me successfully, damn it!
Yeah.
Mag mutters under her breath. The feeling is mutual. And then louder than that, she says, well, thank you for taking care of these two, seeing to it they have their last rites. If all this falls to us in the end, we'll be needing some rest before we return tomorrow to find the others.
Yeah. Why don't you get some rest? Get the rest of that squad back here. Get those city boys back here, and hopefully we don't need to do with them what it is that we had to do with these two.
And I think as they're leaving, Mag says aloud to no one in particular, but with everyone in earshot, I suppose he has changed after all, the damn fool. He never would have responded with help when I worked for him. At least he's figuring out the gravity of the situation. In the past, he's been slower to understand a crisis, even when it was staring him in the face.
I think he's learned a lot from you, Mag, actually. I remember when I first met that guy and I just couldn't help but think what an ass he was. And he's still kind of an ass, but not so much of an ass. And I think that's down to you.
Maybe so, maybe not. The last time there was something this serious for us, and I tried to reach him, he wasn't so receptive. There was a death in the garrison. Another of our number was murdered in the courtyard. And it was as though facing the truth was too much for everyone. Lardis most of all. So they chose to turn away even from investigating, to count it as an accident when all the circumstances clearly pointed to its being anything but. Her name was Rasheen, and she was my friend. For all those years, no one ever bothered to consider what really happened to her, because the truth of it was too much for them to face. And no matter what I tried or what I said or whose help I enlisted, that was it. Me alone. They said I had no proof. And with that, Mag reaches into a pouch, a small one, at her waistband. And she pulls out the 2 black feathers tied together with gold thread. Even though I had this. She looks at it for a moment and replaces it. And then she walks off down the street.
Trill's kind of slack-jawed, trying to figure out what to say next, honestly. Like, since Mag's walked away from them, this is a moment where Trill's trying to decide, does she follow Mag or does she give Mag space? It's been a while since Mag started, was punching trees, but she doesn't really want to start again.
Yeah, luckily there's no trees nearby. But there are structures.
I'm sure there's a timber mill nearby, though, so
Right.
we could make a trip.
Never far
Find a
from
tree.
trees
She
in
can, if
Otari.
she wants to find a tree,
Yeah.
she can find a tree in Otari.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Trill would then follow down and...
First off, you know you're not alone anymore, right? And secondly, what is that? What did happen to Rasheen?
Yeah, I think Istin would be maybe for the first time in either of these conversations engaged by the 2 feathers and the golden... Was it a golden ribbon or a ring?
Thread?
Thread. Is there like a recall knowledge check he could make
Ooh.
to see if he recognizes anything about it?
Yeah, give me. So
Is there such thing as
For the sake
is
of
there
not-
mag
not-
lore?
I was gonna say,
We'd have to get that from Mac.
everybody didn't think it was gonna come up, but I knew.
okay, so just to like kind of be a weirdo about that question of is there mag lore?
Well, I
Wait,
know it's
hold
a
on,
funny...
hold on.
Sorry.
Trill has the gnome obsession feat, which lets her spend a day of downtime to obsess over any new thing and get lore about that. So
Ooh.
if you were to spend,
Nice.
she would need to take a day.
Yeah,
it would be a day of not going to the dungeon, but she
Yeah.
could
I don't
essentially.
know if Mag is going to consent to waiting a full day to be stared
Yeah,
at lovingly
I
by
agree.
Trill.
It seemed
Yeah.
unlikely. I just wanted to bring it up because there
It
is
is
mechanical
possible.
support that if Trill wanted to learn everything about Mag,
Oh my gosh.
she could spend a day.
Thank God for
doing
no
that.
obsession.
Maybe once we find the Star Watch.
Well, thank you for giving me my fanfic topic.
But Armet,
Yeah.
for the question of like what lore what skill should you roll? We're gonna go a little off raw here. Roll
Cool.
whatever skill you think.
Ooh.
You pick a skill, you roll it blind, and then I'll tell you if you get any hint of anything here.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I think Istin is just trying to see if he knows anything, like if this is a token of some arcane or occult beastie that they leave as like calling cards at their sites of their ill doing or something is where his mind goes. I'm gonna roll Arcana if that's okay. I feel like occultism might. You know what? I'm going to try occultism, even though I'm not quite as good at it.
Just
'cause
do a
that feels
reflex save,
more
man. Just
Can I aid with astronomy lore?
athletics check to
I like the
really
idea of
wrestle
astronomy
Mag to the
lore on
ground to see it.
this.
yeah. Let's all use assurance and athletics to figure out what this totem is.
Zoe, if you want to aid in astronomy lore, you can. If you want to make an astronomy lore check, that's a thing you could do.
I get to do it so rarely that I do want to do that just because, sorry, astrology. I don't know why I made it.
Yeah. I feel
More
like
scientific.
astrology, we could start arguing that for like fortune telling stuff as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it's meant to be. Unfortunately, you have a GM who doesn't believe even remotely in any part of that and doesn't understand like what the possible use case of those things could be. It's really a my fault situation that astrology lore has been as bad as it has been. It's
I
just
don't
that
know. Deep down in the ground is a tough sell.
it's tough. It's tough. You're right. So, Isthin, thinking about, do I know about some occult thing here? What all you can really gather from this, you aren't able to connect these two raven wings tied together by a gold string. You're not able to connect them to any specific ritual, creature, culture, or whatever. But you do get the sense that there's like an intense cruelty and sadism intended by this. This is an elaborately crafted item meant to make a person feel bad. That's basically all you're able to get.
I think that's more than enough, though, and like something about his expression softens as he looks back up at Mag afterwards.
Mag has taken it out again and is like holding it gingerly in her hands, which enables Isthin to get this close look at it, and Mag herself is lost in thought.
And
Yeah.
Ao's astrology lore check. You think that this is a representation of the constellation known as the Mantis, but also probably a representation of the constellation known as the Stare of Stars.
This was a DC 115.
What were the two options? One was the
All right,
mantis.
so mantis or stare of stars.
Starer of stars?
No, it's a stare.
Like stairs?
You know. Yeah, like some stairs.
Like that you'd find in a dungeon
stars.
deep below the earth.
I imagine Ao knows what those two constellations are.
Yeah. Yes. hmm
Well, man, y'all did the thing where that we always do to Lars's NPCs, where everybody asks a really good question all at the same time. Now I'm trying to remember what they all were. Lars, it's
As we were
stressful,
doing
man.
that.
I wish you'd said something
it's
about
tough.
As we were going through all those questions in the back of my mind, I was like, oh God, he's going to feel like Lars now.
it. Totally.
It's weird. It's weird how much more difficult it is to answer multiple questions in this context than it is in any other context.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult.
I've started asking my kids to go one at a time, because it's like hearing their sibling ask a question reminds them that asking questions is an activity. And so then they'll just immediately produce one, but it's totally unrelated.
Mhm.
And they're often very interesting, but you can only. Anyway, Mag sits down heavily on the curb and then turns back to Trill. You're right. I'm not alone anymore. Suppose in a way, never been totally alone. Because whatever it is that leaves these behind, it's been with me for a long time, too. She reaches into her pouch and she pulls out another one.
Oh, dang.
Where'd that one come from?
And in response, Mag reaches into her pouch and pulls out a third.
Oh, double dang.
Mac, that's creepy.
It is. These have been appearing in places where I know something terrible has happened, and where no one else has witnessed. since around the time my childhood started to move into my adulthood. And I don't know what they are. I don't know who or what is leaving them. But there's always a feeling that the next one might not be long in coming.
Trill takes her two little hands and wraps Mag's big hand in them. To kind of hold it and just, she doesn't say anything, but it's just a gesture of, I'm here with you.
They're constellations, I think, Mag. Ale looks at the other two. Are they all the same constellation, which she has two strong senses about, or they look different, Lars?
Ao takes a look at all of these different configurations of feathers and golden thread.
It is gold ribbon, by the way. I misquoted myself. Good catch, Robin.
And gold ribbon.
I think I said thread as well. I thought you said thread.
Well,
With the wings tied in gold, she takes a look at them. And they're all configured in different ways that could each evoke different constellations that might pass overhead over the swamp that Mag grew up near. And so Ao draws from examining each of these different feathers tied together that there's like a strong connection to the nighttime in the swamp, but they're all different constellations.
They're things you'd see out there. I wonder if they were what was overhead when you found them, or when the terrible event you're describing happened. Mag, will you let us know if, and then she pauses, when you find the next one?
Mag is pretty overwhelmed. So, with her jaw clenched and a tear starting to form in her eyes, she just nods to Ao.
And at this point, I think Istin will blow out a long, drawn-out sigh. I need a drink. Y'all want to join me? I've got a bottle back at my dad's place, and there's a clearing out by the cliff. We could go look at the water, have a drink.
Trill pats Mag's hand again, stands up, and kind of looks down the street.
I think I'm actually going to pass tonight. I think I just need to go to sleep.
And she'll starts walking off towards Crow's Cask.
Mag turns to Istin and nods yes to him.
Ao shrugs and follows after Mag and Istin.
So the three of you, without Trill, move over to Haplo's shack, almost. Maybe shack isn't the right word. Sort of
Shack
small
is appropriate.
cottage. Okay. At the perimeter of the graveyard overlooking the cliffs above the inner sea. And the three of you step into what has become Istin's home here in town now. Armet, what do they see? What are we doing here in this ancient, strange, curiosity-filled house?
Yeah, I think there's still tons of stuff everywhere. It's still totally messy. Some of it's still Haplo's, but now there's like a bunch of Istin's, tools for repairing his armor and, odds and ends of his magical kit. Also kind of strewn everywhere. But he walks in and grabs a fifth of whiskey, I think, or whatever the Galarian equivalent.
I just found myself wondering that when you said fifth. Like, what is the?
Are they on the metric system there?
Right, exactly, yeah. And then
I'm looking up Galarian booze. I'm going to have something for you in just a moment.
Awesome. Yes.
Keep going. I'll chime in once I have
good.
it.
That's some good shit.
I believe it. Yeah, those gnomes.
Yeah, they recommend whiskey. Whiskey seems to be the in-universe whiskey.
I love it.
There we go.
So yeah, he gets a bottle of whiskey and nods to the others, and it's like, the path's around back if you want to go. And so they wind through Haplo's, target range where there's tons of like shattered bottles, many of which resemble the whiskey bottle Istin is bringing right now. And then it goes out to the edge where there's a little clearing and kind of a lovely view of the inner city lapping at the slight beach and rocky shore beneath them. Oh, he grabbed glasses as well. Obviously, he would need that. And hand them to the two of them. And probably just sits and stares out there for a long time. I don't know if you guys would say anything.
Hey, Istin, are these Haplo's glasses?
Yeah, I believe they are.
Nods sort of sadly and lifts her glass, and she says, "To Haplo."
And at that, Istin puts his glass down and goes, "Fucking Haplo! I just don't get it, Why does he appear now? For my whole life, he's distant. I was always distracted on the few occasions I spend time with him. And now, like only now because I'm engaged with this project, even though he's dead, he decides to make time for me? Right now, it pisses me off."
Eo just starts laughing. That's like the angriest I've ever seen you get. You're also cheerful even when you're hungover. But you're mad. She slugs back her dram of whiskey.
Mag holds her glass like 2 inches higher than she has been and says, "To rage."
And to that, I think Istin clinks his glass against hers and downs his drink as well. Then pours each of them another measure and looks at Mag and says, "Sorry for who you lost, I figured you knew when I got into town about the Holomog job, the Absalom broadsheets, especially Eyes on Absalom, were really having a field day with it, Everybody loves a failed adventure. Can't stop pointing fingers, but I think that's why I got so mad at you when, you were sort of questioning my loyalty. I thought it was because of that job. Had you heard of it? And he looks at them, like inquisitively.
Lars, is this a substantial? Was this world news?
Armet, tell me if I'm on the wrong track here. What Istin's referring to is this job that Istin told Simandrovix and Torpor Wedge about on the night on last night, right, when you were at the Rowdy Rockfish. And
Exactly.
it's the job in which when Istin was with a group of with an adventuring party going after a job, going on an adventure,
Right.
a vampire wound up killing all of them. In the community of Absalom adventurers, like among the Pathfinder Society in Absalom, Istin is probably right that his reputation would have been sullied. But I think that for Mag and for Ao, like you're probably mystified about what Istin's talking about. Like you don't know.
No, I've heard no tell of this.
Oh, I also want to include one more detail. He had taken the staff that Haplo had given him and has been like fiddling it with it as he, poured drinks and Istin says, I thought you knew. And he explains the details about the vampire job in Holamog and explains that he'd had to explain that to the Star Watch the night before. And as he sort of wraps up an abbreviated version of the job, he's like, they didn't even ask me if there was more to the story. They just assumed that was where it ended. But I went back, I ran, yeah, but I waited 3 days in a newly, drinking myself under the table for the cleric we'd hired to arrive. Then I had to convince them to go back, just the two of us. Trek down went better, though. We got there in the early afternoon. I mean, the Argon shite hadn't even bothered to change the location of its lair. So then I went in, I staked it while they chanted spells, and I jammed garlic in its mouth, and they cut off its god's bedamned head. And then I launched a fireball into the ruins and burned the place to the ground. I gave my share of the pay and, what we could find of the bodies to the families of the deceased. But it wasn't enough, I still knew. And I couldn't forget it. I fucked up, and then I'd fucked up again by running. I don't know if I could have changed anything if I'd stayed, but it was at that moment I realized I would never be the world's greatest adventurer. Because they never would have done the things I'd done. I had acted like a coward.
And on his saying that, Mag starts to cry, and in the setting, darkening dusk, the tears that roll down her face glow faintly red.
Rage tears.
The only kind there are, baby.
Hell yeah.
Istin? Ao says she's sort of been struck by this and is sitting in one of the chairs. Here's the thing. You can't look back to the past. It's not who you are. The only thing to do, and she's sort of picking up intensity, the only thing to do, look towards the future and get as far away from those things as you can. Just leave them behind. You can be someone new. We can all be someone. You don't have to carry that weight with you. Great things are possible.
And Istin looks at Ao and says, "You're missing the point of the story, Ao. I knew something else in that moment, too. I realized I was just like him. My dad, I mean. You know, he'd seen the idea of being a parent, something he wasn't ready for, and he'd run. Just like me. And as he says that, Istin is still sort of idly running his fingers over the staff. And at that moment, it clicks, like something has finally settled into place. And the staff starts to glow with this blue light that is the exact same shade of as Istin's hair. And he said, that's when I decided to come back here to get to know him. Sometimes you have to look back if you're going to move forward.
Mag turns to Istin, and she takes his two shoulders in her two hands. So they're looking at each other squarely. The blue glow from the staff mingling with the red glow from Mag's tears on her face. Maybe once you ran. You ran away from something too big for you in a moment. Just like I did today. Now we decide, even though we ran away, we stop, we turn, and we walk right back. We don't need the greatest adventurer the world has ever seen. We need the one that's here and is ready to face what's down there.
And Istin raises his glass and says, I'll drink to that.
And Mag raises hers as well.
Ao quietly lifts hers, just staring at the light coming out of the staff.
She is a sucker for a blue light, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more cyan, though, you know?
Cyan.
So, as the three of you enjoy this last drink, it's around 9:00 at night. At this point, Trill is probably asleep, right? Like if Trill's going straight to bed, that was about an hour and a half ago. So she is probably already asleep. But you tell me, Robin, is Trill having trouble getting to bed? What's going on with Trill?
Well, indeed, Lars. Trill is passed out at Crow's Cask. You know, limbs everywhere, twisting and turning. But she's asleep. And then it begins the same way it always does. The dark, swampy woods of Otari surround Trill. She knows she's been here before. Swamp gas swirls around her feet, obscuring the ground. Trill looks around, and the moss draping from the trees, obscuring her view and creating confusing shadows as she tries to step carefully through the puddles and the marsh. The light of the crescent moon does little to guide her as she realizes she's lost. She knows she's been here before. Why can't she find her way out? What is out? Has she ever been anywhere else but lost in this swamp? A bucolic image of an orchard in Brasselwark calls to her, filling her with a sense of calm. She has not always been here. Life used to be easy, simple, beautiful, less muddy. But something called to her, insisted she travel, see the world. What was it that called her away from comfort, family, and love? She knows she's been here before. The hanging moss moves in the wind, allowing the light of the moon to illuminate the puddles around her. Something glimmers in the water, causing Trill to bend down. The shimmering light grows into a round light, coming out of the water, forming an image. A blonde woman looks up at her. She recognizes Trill. She glares at her with deep loathing. "What's taking you so long, Trilphus? Lost in the wilderness? Shouldn't you be here by now?" The mocking hatred in her voice makes Trill stumble backwards, almost falling into the mud. "Do I know her? Does she know me? Is that why I'm here?" And she's home, looking out her bedroom window thoughtfully at the rugged slopes of the Asphodel Mountains. Her feet feel antsy, as though they may walk right off her legs if she doesn't get outside soon.
I wonder what Brasselwark looks like from up there.
The young gnome struggles up rocky cliffs, finding footholds where she can, pausing often to catch her breath. The hard stone digs into her fingers, but she has to know.
What does it look like?
Finally, she climbs onto a ledge and sits.
Don't look down.
Trill didn't think about the danger as she snuck around the construction sites of the walls to protect the border of Cheliax. She didn't think about how dangerous it may be for a young, foolish gnome to leave the safety of her gnome hometown. Standing on that ledge, struggling to breathe after the exertion, she looks at her beautiful town with the Brassel River running through it. The orchards are particularly beautiful this time of year. Her hair glitters with the experience of the new image. But as her body begins to relax, she catches her breath for a different reason. Her eyes move beyond her town. Destruction. Where Brasselwark is a shining gem, the rest of the country has been molded by infernal hands. House Thrune's grasp on the land drained any brightness or beauty there may have been, and dark spires of Asmodean cathedrals pierce upwards from cities in the distance. Smoke, fire, brimstone. The heat and rancid smell wrap her up, making her sick and wishing she had never climbed that cliff. The air blows hot as her awareness grows. She notices glossy black feathers floating on the wind. Tears. Trill feels hot tears stream down her face. Her hair falls limp.
How could I forget? How could I forget what it was like?
Swamp vines curl around her. The devilish landscape grows swampy, and Trill is held up in the air by what seem to be sentient tendrils of an unknown plant. She struggles against them, no longer the young, innocent gnome she used to be, but a wielder of magic. A gnome who has traveled along the inner sea. A gnome who is running? From what?
Why? Why am I here? It can't just be the bleaching.
In front of Trill, now in the swamp, wisps race towards her. There are always wisps now, whispering blasphemies in her ear. She's lost and has forgotten the way. The wisps whip around her like comets shooting through the sky, escorting the celestial caravan, a beautiful comparison for terrifying beings hell-bent on making Trill forget her purpose. More tears. Faces begin to form in the wisps as they slow in front of her. First, the blonde woman from earlier.
Belcora.
Taunting her with that knowing grin. I'll destroy it all. The wisp next to Belcora's haunting glares begins to form an altogether different face. Red skin, black hair, curled ebony horns, and a fearsome countenance demanding obedience. The devil's face laughs as Trill's eyes widen.
Belcora and Asmodeus.
The memory of the subjugation and torment she witnessed outside her safe walls, that was what it called her. Why she is here. It cannot happen in Quartos too. The laughter of the two most vile, vicious, malevolent people she has ever seen overwhelms Trill's senses and casts her into a claustrophobic darkness, struggling for air and her sanity. Gasping for air, covered in sweat, Trill sits up in bed. With shaky limbs, she puts her feet on the ground and her head in her hands.
A deal with the devil? What have we done?
And Trill's awake now.
And we'll pick up from there next time.
I have a completely inappropriate response to this. Her gnome town? Come on!
Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy, using trademarks and copyrights owned by Paizo that are covered under that policy. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way, and we are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. All original characters and content in the Roots of Ruin are the property of Tabletop Gold, and all rights are reserved. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. On our website, tabletopgold.com, you can learn more about us and our shows, pick up great merch, and connect to the best online community in all of podcasting. Thanks for listening.